Hey, it's Ethan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Swagman XTC2 Tilt 2 bike rack and how it fits on our 2021 Nissan Rogue Sport. It's just going to fit into the hitch receiver of our Sport. It's a platform style bike rack capable of supporting 2 bikes up to 35 pounds. So it's really lightweight, really easy to get in. It's going to hold on to our bike primarily with these center mast frame clamp or hooks right here. So if you want to mix and match and use this with your carbon frame bikes, I'd recommend against it because it does make primary frame contact and could potentially damage your frame while you're driving, or if you just have a nice paint job that you don't want getting damaged. So let's take a closer look at how it works. First thing we'll show off is that tilt, which gives this rack its name. So first I'll pull this clip from the side, pull the pin out as well, and we can step back and tilt the rack down. It does tilt pretty aggressively for its size and shape, so we get tons of room back here for the hatch of our Rogue. Doesn't come anywhere near our handlebars or the pedals, and I still do have room back here if I want to sit down, change my shoes before or after my ride, or grab anything out of the back that I might need. It doesn't do a lot of resisting though, so if you end up getting 2 bikes on here, they should only be 35 pounds each, which isn't too tough to lift, but you are going to have to do that on your own. And then we'll have to find where those holes line up again, replace this pin. You might have to wiggle the rack back and forth just a bit, and the clip as well. Now we can work on getting the bike removed. We'll start with these rubber straps. First I'll do this back one. Just pop that out. And the straps aren't quite as plasticky as a lot of other racks that might have just a rubber protector. They are just kind of rubberized straps, so they stretch. And they're also padded, so they're going to support your tire and not damage that as well. The center mast frame hooks do come all the way off, which is nice because they get out of the way. I'll start with that one. Hold on to the frame of my bike, press that gray release, pull the hook up and off, and now I can get my bike off as well. I made sure to put the pedals behind the center mast, which just makes it a little bit easier. With the bike out of the way, we can start condensing things on the rack a little bit, starting with these center mast hooks. Before I put this one on, I did just want to show that there is a spot for your padlocks if you want to fit that in there, so you won't be able to engage that release and get the hooks off while it's locked. So a little bit of extra security factored in. So I'll start with that longer one and then get the shorter one on as well. And now we can fold the center mast down. To do that, we'll have to pull this pin first. It'll go either direction, but the goal of that is just you want to leave the rack on and still have room to get into the hatch area. That's a way to do that. It does fold up pretty small, and then we can just replace this. And now we can talk a little bit more about the tray of the bike rack as well as the cradles. So you can see that on the tray, the cradles do have the ability to be loosened or tightened up with these hand knobs to slide up and down the tray to accommodate a wheelbase of up to 52 inches. As they come, the hoops are capable of supporting a tire width of 2.5 inches, but you can get fat cradles as well if you want to support a tire width of up to 5 inches. From here we can get a couple measurements just to see what it's like to live with this on the back of your vehicle, starting with the distance added. So it does have the ability for these arms on the side to fold up, but it's ultimately going to remain the same distance from the back of your vehicle. In our case being 21 inches added on, so it doesn't stick out too bad at all. As far as ground clearance goes, we have a nice rise in the shank. So from the furthest point back here, that's going to come in at about 16 inches. So the Rogue sits tall enough, and with that rise, I'm not going to be worried about any sort of ground clearance issues like going up hills or over curbs and bottoming out. Now we'll get those arms folded up to show you what that looks like. It's going to be very similar to that pin that we used to get that center mast down. We'll just pull them, fold the arms up, find where the new holes align at the top, and wiggle the pin back in there. Repeat that on this side over here. Just pull the pin, fold that arm up, find where they replace up at or where the holes line up again up at the top, and replace that pin. You might have to just wiggle it back and forth, as with any time you're going to pull a pin or try to get it back in, just to make sure everything fits up, just like that. The rack uses an 1.25" shank that fits into our 2-inch hitch receiver. using this sleeve, as well as it's held in place by this anti-rattle bolt with the clip on the other side. There is a lock available for that as well. It's sold separately. You can use that if you want to get a little bit more security, and it's nice that it's 1 1/4 inch because it can be you can work with different vehicles if you want to. If you have receiver for a different car that's 1 1/4 inch, the rack will work for both. Overall, if you're looking for a solid entry-level bike that really condenses, so if you want to find a place to store it in your garage really easily, or maybe it'll even fit in the back of your vehicle when you're not using it, the Swagman XTC2 Tilt is definitely a really solid option. Usually entry-level bike racks like this don't have the ability to tilt away, so that's one thing that definitely sets this rack apart. I will say though, if you don't need that tilt away feature, and you're not necessarily as worried about storage and you'd rather have a rack that's easier to work with, holds your bike a little bit more securely, I would check out something like the Hollywood Rack's Destination 2 Bike Rack. Similar weight capacity and specs overall. I think it's just a little bit easier to work with. But again, if you are worried about that storage and you do like the tilting aspect, the XTC2 Tilt is definitely a really solid choice. This again was just a quick look at how the Swagman XTC2 Tilt fits on our 2021 Nissan Rogue Sport. Here we are on our test course. Our solid speed bumps simulate pulling in and out of a driveway or hitting a speed bump in a parking lot. As we hit the alternating bumps, you can see what it would be like to hit a pothole on the road. We use the slalom portion of our course to simulate the side-to-side movement, such as turning corners or evasive maneuvers.